Hello students. In the previous session, we have learned that this chapter, Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood, this chapter has been divided into two parts. The first part talks about Sahib, who is a rag picker, and the second part talks about Mukesh, who makes glass bangles. So these children do not have the opportunity to go to school and get their education. They live a life of poverty and exploitation, right? And students, I have also given you the word meanings of the chapter in the previous session. Now let's begin reading and understanding the chapter. So the first story of Sahib goes with the heading, "Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage." Let's read it. "Why do you do this?" I ask Sahib, whom I encounter every morning, scrounging for gold in the garbage dumps of my neighborhood. Sahib left his home long ago, set amidst the green fields of Dhaka. His home is not even a distant memory. There were many storms that swept away their fields and homes, his mother tells him, and that is why they left looking for gold in the big city where he now lives. So every morning, the writer says that every morning she sees a young rag picker boy who visits the garbage dump near her house and searches for gold in the garbage dump. So by this word gold, the writer means to say that the young boy, the young rag picker searches for something useful in the garbage dump. He searches for something, if he could get some useful things out of the garbage. Although the garbage dump is full of useless and thrown away things, still that young rag picker used to search and shuffle the garbage dump so minutely, as if he would get something as precious as gold from it. So the boy's name is Sahib. We will get it after some time. So Sahib was originally from Dhaka. His home in Dhaka was in the middle of green fields, and they had left their home many years ago, and he does not remember it anymore. His mother had told him that there were many storms which destroyed their homes and fields, and that is why they left their home and shifted to the city searching for gold. So look, the writer again says, looking for gold in the big city means gold here refers to something precious, maybe which they did not have in their hometown Dhaka, which was not available in their hometown Dhaka. So things like shoes, money, bags, etc. for the children, and food, clothing, shelter are referred to as gold here, because the boy searches for such precious things in the garbage dumps. So these things must have been thrown away by others, but these things were precious for the people like Sahib. So as every morning the writer sees Sahib visiting the garbage dump, one day the writer asks Sahib the reason why he always shuffled through the garbage. The writer one day asks Sahib the reason for shuffling through the garbage. "Now, I have nothing else to do," he mutters, looking away. "Go to school," I say glibly, realizing immediately how hollow the advice must sound. So when the writer asks Sahib the reason why he shuffles the garbage dump, Sahib replies to the writer that he has nothing else to do other than rag picking. And then the writer suggests Sahib that he should go to school. But after suggesting this to Sahib, the writer realizes that her suggestion or her advice to Sahib is meaningless. Her suggestion, her advice is meaningless for that poor little boy. He cannot afford to go to school and get his education. Now, there is no school in my neighborhood. When they build one, I will go. If I start a school, will you come? I ask, half joking. Yes, he says, smiling broadly. So, students, when the writer suggests Sahib that he should go to school, he should get his education, Sahib replies that there are no schools in the area where he lives. He also says that he will definitely go to school when a school will be built near his house. And then the writer asks him jokingly, okay, that if she opened a school, would he attend it? Yes, he says, smiling broadly. A few days later, I see him running up to me. Is your school ready? It takes longer to build a school, I say, embarrassed at having made a promise that was not meant. But promises like mine abound in every corner of his bleak world. So Sahib replies that yes, he would definitely join the writer's school. And what happens after a few days is that Sahib runs up to the writer, Sahib goes to the writer and asks her whether her school is ready. Okay, so and the writer replied that it takes a lot of time to build a school. The writer feels ashamed because she made a false promise to Sahib. She had said said this as a joke that she would open a school, but she had never planned or intended to open a school, and that is why she felt ashamed of herself. But the writer again says that but promises like mine abound in every corner of his bleak world. Which means the writer says that Sahib was not hurt when he got to know that the writer had not opened her school yet. So the writer says that he was not hurt. Sahib was not hurt because he was used to such false promises. He was surrounded by such false promises made by everyone around him. His world was empty as promises made to Sahib were never fulfilled by anyone. Now, after months of knowing him, I asked him his name, Sahib-e-Alam. He announces. He does not know what it means. If he knew its meaning, Lord of the Universe, he would have a hard time believing it. Unaware of what his name represents, he roams the streets with his friends, an army of barefoot boys who appear like the morning birds and disappear at noon. Over the months, I have come to recognize each of them. So now the writer says that she had known Sahib for a few months, and one day she asked him his name. He replied that his name was Sahib-e-Alam. And hearing his name, the writer thought that Sahib did not know the meaning of his name. Now, what is the meaning of Sahib's name? The meaning of his name was Lord of the Universe, and that is why the writer thought that if Sahib came to know the meaning of his name, which is Lord of the Universe, if he came to know the meaning of his name, he would not be able to believe it, because his name was completely opposite to his life conditions. He was surrounded by poverty, his condition was miserable, but the meaning of his name, which was Lord of the Universe, and that was totally opposite to his life. So Sahib went around the streets with a group of friends. It was just like an army of boys who were barefooted, who did not wear any footwear. Okay, they appeared in the morning just like the morning birds and disappeared at noon. So the writer says that she could recognize each one of them as she had been seeing them for the past few months. Now, why aren't you wearing chappals? I ask one. My mother did not bring them down from the shelf, he answers simply. So now the writer asked one of those boys, that why he was not wearing any chappal or footwear, and the boy simply replied that his mother did not get them down from the shelf. So why do you think he was not wearing chappals? Because chappals or footwears were beyond his reach. He could not afford them, and that is why he did not wear them. Now, even if she did, he will throw them off, adds another who is wearing shoes that do not match. When I comment on it, he shuffles his feet and says nothing. I want shoes, says a third boy who has never owned a pair all his life. Traveling across the country, I have seen children walking barefoot in cities on village roads. It is not lack of money, but a tradition to stay barefoot is one explanation. I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. So students, at that very moment when the writer asked one of those boys that why he was not wearing chappals, and the boy replied that his mother did not take them down from the shelf, at the same moment, at the very moment, there was a second boy who was wearing a different shoe in each foot, and he said that even if his mother would have given him the footwear, he would have thrown it away. So that second boy meant that the boy was not wearing footwear because he did not want to wear one. Okay, because he did not want to wear footwears. So then again, the writer asked this boy, the second boy, that why he was wearing a different shoe in each foot. But he did not reply and just shuffled his feet as he tried to hide his unmatched shoes. And then again, a third boy said that he wants shoes. He was eager to get a pair of shoes as he had never owned a shoe all his life. He never had his own pair of shoes. So students, the writer brings here this example of shoes to show the condition of these boys. They search the garbage dumps because they look for such precious things in the garbage dumps. And the writer again says that as she has traveled across the country, she had seen so many children walking barefoot in the cities as well as in the villages. And whenever someone asked them that why they did not wear footwears, they used to say or give the reason that they were barefoot not due to lack of money to buy footwear, but being barefoot is a tradition for them. Okay, so they used to tell people that. So the writer wondered, and she came to a conclusion, and she concluded, she said that as these boys say that being barefoot was just a tradition for them, but no, actually it was not. They used to give this reason to the people because it was their excuse to hide the fact that they were so poor that they could not afford footwear. They were not able to buy footwear. So they wanted to hide this fact from the people. That is why they gave the reason. They used to give the reason to the people that being barefoot is a tradition for them, and they did not and they never wore footwear due to lack of money, but being barefoot was a tradition for them. But actually it was not. So students, we will stop here for now, and we will continue the further chapter in the next session.